of Management Studies IGNOU presents an audiobook on the course Mmpc 017 Advanced Strategic Management for MBA program. Presenting Block 1 Introduction to Corporate Management, Unit 2 Corporate Policy, Part 2.
Policy formulation process. A corporate policy is formulated by the top management. The formulation comprises stepwise procedure. The process is similar to the decision-making process and requires analysis, judgment, and experience. The steps involved in the process are: first, environmental analysis; second, identification of policy alternatives; third, evaluation of alternatives; fourth, choice of policy. First, environmental analysis. The first step in the process of policy formulation is environmental analysis. There are basically two environmental factors, internal and external. The external environment of the company comprises of economic, technological, political, and social forces operating outside the boundaries of the company. These influence the company indirectly, and the company has no control over them. These have to be continuously analyzed and understood before the formulation of policies. The internal environment of the organization comprises of the firm's employees, the organization structure, resources, value system, functional departments, etc. These affect the organization's activities directly as they are internal to the organization. Both internal and external forces interact, and a change in one affects the other. The two together provide for identification of problem areas with respect to which the policies could be made. Identification of policy alternatives. Once the analysis has been done, the next step requires identification of policy alternatives. The environmental analysis helps to determine the opportunities and threats facing the company and also its strengths and weaknesses. When the organization is engaged in the matching of its strengths with the opportunities, various policy options emerge. The options or alternatives also arise with the help of past experience, past performance results, and the practices followed by the management. Identification of alternatives has to be done efficiently and then only can be evaluated for one choice. Evaluation of policy alternatives. After the various alternatives have been identified, they are to be evaluated so that the best one could be selected. The evaluation of policies is known as policy audit. The alternatives can be evaluated on the basis of their consequences in terms of their contribution to corporate goals. Several criteria could be used for evaluation, like growth, unit, profitability, development, meeting of organizational goals, etc. The evaluation has to be done with care so that errors may not occur. Policy should not only be feasible, but it should also be consistent with organization's goals. Choice of policy. The last step in the policy formulation process is the choice of the best alternative from among the various alternatives identified and evaluated. The evaluation helps in the selection of the best possible policy. If any of the alternatives are not acceptable and not consistent with company's objectives, then the process reverts back to the identification of alternatives, where fresh alternatives are looked for. The search begins again. The various alternatives are compared with each other, and the most preferred option is selected. This selected policy has to be tested so that it could be known whether it fits in the organizational boundaries and meets the organizational goals. After being successfully tested, the policy becomes ready for implementation, and the manner in which it would be implemented should be explained clearly. After the policy has been made, it becomes necessary to review it from time to time so that it does not become obsolete. Classification of corporate policy. Corporate policies have been classified on the basis of various criteria. Over the years, the number of bases have changed and developed. Basically, there are three main types of policies: basic policies, general policies, and departmental policies. Different authors have given different kinds of classifications. Some have classified policies on the basis of functional areas, while some have classified them on the basis of levels. Alfred and Betty have classified policies as top management policies, upper middle management policies, middle management policies, foreman policies, operating force policies, sales policies, production policies, research policies, financial policies, costing policies, accounting policies, marketing policies, promotion policies, product policies. Classification on the basis of scope. On the basis of scope of an organization, policies are classified as basic policies, general policies, and departmental or specific policies. Basic policies. These are framed by the top management and spell out the basic approach of a company to its activities and its environment. General policies. These are framed by the middle level management and are more specific. They apply to large segments of the organization. Specific policies. These are framed by the foremen and supervisors and are very specific in nature. They are applicable to routine activities. Now, classification on the basis of expression. On the basis of expression, corporate policies can either be expressed or implied. Expressed policies. The policies which are expressed in clear words, either orally or in writing, are the expressed policies. These are more suitable for small organizations. Implied policies. The policies which are understood by the employees, code of conduct, or behavior are not expressed orally or through written statements are known as implied policies. They flow from philosophy, values, and tradition of the organization. Classification on the basis of level. Different policies are framed at different levels of management. These include top management policies. These are framed by the top management and it is only responsible for them. The policies are derived from top management planning and top management sees that they are put into effect and judges the result. Middle level management policies. These are laid down by the middle level managers and deal with the organizational activities, example, selection of executives, employee training, deciding processes, methods, techniques, etc. Lower level management policies. Those people who have direct control over the working force comprise the lower level management. These people set up policies with respect to the accomplishment of tasks of subdivisions of the organizations. Classification on the basis of origin. On the basis of origin, policies are classified as original policies, appealed policies, imposed policies, and derivative policies. Original policies, appealed policies, imposed policies, and derivative policies. Original policies. These policies are formed from the company objectives. These are formed by the top management and the top management is responsible for. These policies are formed from the company objectives. These are formed by the top management and the top management is responsible for guiding and directing them and the subordinates are responsible in the attainment of organization objectives. Appealed policies. These are also called suggested policies because they are made by taking into account the suggestions of subordinates or people who implement these policies. Imposed policies. External forces sometimes force the company to accept certain policies forcibly. These policies are called imposed policies. The external forces could include government rules and suggestions, arguments with trade unions, etc. Derivative policies. These policies are operational in nature and are derived from companies' major policies. They are made as guidelines to perform day-to-day operations. Classification on the basis of functional areas. In an organization, various functional areas are seen. The policies are classified according to functional areas, that is, production policies, marketing and sales policies, financial policies, and personal policies. Production policies. These policies are concerned with product to be produced, type of technology, equipment, selection of plant layout, location and size, manufacturing cost, inventory control, quality control, etc. Marketing and sales policies. These policies, which relate to policies in market analysis, business law, salesmanship, advertising, are concerned with total process of marketing mix and product mix. These include decisions with respect to customers, channels of distribution, dealers, sales control, promotions, etc. Financial policies. The success of business depends upon these policies. These consist of policies with respect to capital structure, method of raising funds, the utilization of funds, credit policy, dividend decisions, profit policy, costing and accounting policy, etc. Personal policies. Employees are very important for the organization, and the personal policies are concerned with issues like recruitment, selection, training and development, promotions and transfer, wages and incentives, etc. Classification of policies on the basis of nature of management. The main functions of an organization comprise of planning, organizing, actuating, and controlling. The policies may therefore be classified as planning policies, organizing policies, actuating policies, and controlling policies. Planning policies. These policies are concerned with the determination of ways to attain the objectives of the organization. Such policies decide corporate objectives, alternative course of action, comparison of alternatives, establishment of budgets, schedules, procedures, etc. Organizing policies. These policies are concerned with allocation of activities to members of the group so that through their collective efforts, objectives could be achieved. These are those policies which provide for issues like organization structure, authority, responsibility, delegation, centralization, and various relationships. Actuating policies. The actuating policies include providing leadership, integrating tasks, communication, and organization climate. These policies are concerned with organizing the employees of the organization. Controlling policies. Controlling is the process by which the performance is compared with the set objectives. These policies provide for establishment of standards, pointing out deviations, ascertaining causes for deviation, and taking corrective actions. Importance of corporate policy. For effective management, the solving of day-to-day problems is not enough. What is required is the proper assessment of all kinds of activities and operations taking place in the organization. After the assessment, they are to be defined in clear-cut way so that objectives could be met. For definition of the business activities and their efficient implementation, the selection and application of policies is required. Without a guiding light, it would become very difficult for the business to go on, and policies act as guide and facilitate the manager to direct all the activities towards the same goal. Policies are needed to carry out the business activities in a smooth manner. They provide clear-cut courses for attainment of business objectives. If a proper explicit policy has been formulated, many of the details could be conveniently handled by the subordinates, and management would not unnecessarily waste its time and energy in doing them. Policies provide a guide and framework for decision making. Policies encourage delegation of the power of decision making. Good policies provide a direction in which all management activities are focused. Policies provide stability to the action of the members of the firm. Policies deter the subordinates to rethink on the day-to-day issues and thus avoid repetitive analysis of issues. Policies facilitate evaluation of performance by acting as a standard. They enhance employees' enthusiasm and loyalty for the organization. They help in solving the problems for optimum utilization of scarce resources. The sound policies helps in building good public image of the business. Policies provide the firm with clear objectives with which the managers can decide about the future course of action. They act as tool for coordination and control. Thus, corporate policy is very important for an organization and helps in the overall development and growth. A sound policy provides satisfaction to the employees in terms of working conditions, culture, authority, responsibility, and relationships. Summary. Corporate policy is the guideline which helps the management to carry out its activities in an efficient and effective manner so that the objectives of the organizations are met. However, there are different views with regard to definition of corporate policy. The features of corporate policy includes general statement of principles, long-term perspective, achievement of objectives, qualitative, conditional, and general statements, guide for repetitive operations, helps in decision-making process, provides a unified structure, and helps to determine a positive declaration for its followers. The determinants of corporate policy includes internal and external determinants. The scope of corporate policy is very broad and consists of a variety of subjects that affect various internal groups in the organization. The formulation of corporate policy is very important and facilitate the managers to achieve goals. The process of corporate policy formulation include 4 steps: environmental analysis, identification of alternatives, evaluation of alternatives, and choice of corporate policy. Policies are classified on the basis of various criteria: scope, expression, level of management, nature of origin, functional areas, and nature of management functions. Policies have an important role to play in organizations.
You were listening to the audiobook by the School of Management Studies IGNOU for MBA program. Course code Mmpc 016 International Business Management. Course Coordinator Professor G. Subayama. Voiceover by Chitra. Edited by Ashok Sharma. Program assisted by Tarannum Jahan and Jagbandhu Jana. Program produced by Dr. Manoj Kumar Singh. This program was brought to you by Electronic Media Production Center of Indira Gandhi National Open University.